His father, the Grand Prince of Moscow, died when Ivan was still a little boy. And when his mother died a few years later, the palace became a cage full of wolves. Powerful noble families, the boyars, started fighting each other for control. They didn't fight in open battles like in stories. They fought with whispers, threats, arrests, poison rumors, and sudden accidents. Ivan grew up watching grown men bow in public, then shove him aside in private. Later writers describe him as a boy who was neglected and humiliated, left to wander the palace while the adults stole money and power. And when he finally got the chance to stop being the powerless child, he didn't choose to be a normal king. He chose to be feared. In 1547, still a teenager, Ivan crowned himself with a new title. Not just a prince, but Tsar, a word that carried the weight of emperors. Around the same time, he married Anastasia Romanovna. In 1552, he attacked Kazan with a large army and heavy guns. The siege was brutal, but it worked. Kazan fell. But Ivan didn't just want victory. He wanted control that nobody could ever question. In 1560, Anastasia died. Ivan didn't just mourn, he broke. He became convinced she had been poisoned by boyars who wanted to weaken him. Whether she was poisoned or died naturally, Ivan's belief mattered more than the truth, because it shaped what he did next. He stopped seeing rivals as political opponents. He started seeing them as enemies hiding behind smiles. Ordinary mistakes became plots. Even silence became suspicious. Then came another trigger, the Livonian War. Ivan wanted a window to the Baltic Sea, access to European trade, and a stronger position against rivals like Poland, Lithuania, and Sweden. The war began with early success, but it dragged on. Ivan's paranoia grew stronger. A ruler losing a war often looks for someone to blame. Ivan didn't just blame someone. He created a whole system built to hunt betrayal. In 1565, Ivan did something that shocked the country. He demanded the right to punish traitors without restraint. Then he split the country into two parts. One part remained under regular administration. The other part became his personal domain, controlled directly by him. This is where fear stopped being a mood and became a machine. The oprichniki were Ivan's personal enforcers. They confiscated property, they arrested people, they destroyed families. They took land from old elites and handed it to new men whose status depended on Ivan's favor. The country changed tone. People learned to speak carefully. A wrong word could end your life. A neighbor's accusation could ruin you. And Ivan didn't do this quietly. He did it loudly, with theater. That is how fear becomes the state. The government stops being something people respect and becomes something people flinch from. The most infamous example came in 1570, when Ivan turned his attention to Novgorod. Novgorod was an old, proud city with traditions of local independence. Ivan convinced himself it was plotting with his enemies, especially with Poland, Lithuania. Whether there was a real plot or not, Ivan acted as if there was. He marched on the city with his forces, and what followed was a nightmare. People were accused in waves, families were dragged out. Some were tortured for confessions, many were killed. Sources describe drownings in icy rivers, mass executions, and looting. Novgorod wasn't just punished. It was taught fear, and everyone else watched and learned the lesson. No place is too important, no person too powerful, no reputation too sacred. But the irony of fear-based rule is this: it doesn't only hurt enemies, it also hurts your own strength. Because once people are terrified, they stop telling you the truth. They tell you what they think will keep them alive. They hide problems instead of fixing them. As the war in the West kept draining the country, armies needed food, horses needed feed, cities needed taxes. Whole regions became poorer. Then came another blow. The oprichniki didn't even keep the country safe. In 1571, Crimean Tatars raided deep into Russian lands and burned much of Moscow. It was a disaster, made worse by the fact that Ivan's fear system had not produced a strong, united defense. A year later, Russia managed to defeat the Tatars at the Battle of Molody. But the message was already clear. Terror at home didn't guarantee security from outside. As the years passed, Ivan's world narrowed. He trusted fewer people. He leaned harder on punishment. He swung between religious guilt and violent rage. And then came the moment that sealed his image forever. In 1581, Ivan struck his own son, Ivan Ivanovich, during an argument. Accounts say it was a violent blow, and the son died from it. A ruler who had tried to control everything through fear had now destroyed the person meant to carry his rule forward. It's one of the cruelest examples of fear eating its own house. By the early 1580s, the Livonian War ended badly for Russia. The dream of easy Baltic access collapsed. Ivan himself grew older and weaker. He had built a state where people obeyed, but fewer truly believed, where power was centralized, but trust was shattered. In 1584, Ivan died. The country did not fall apart the same day, but the damage he left behind mattered. His successor was weaker. Rival groups returned. The wounds of fear didn't heal quickly. And that's the real story here. Ivan didn't become Ivan the Terrible because he was simply cruel by nature. He became that because he took a personal lesson from childhood. Power is the only safety, and turned it into national policy. He made loyalty something you proved by surviving. He made government something that punished more than it protected. He made fear useful, then necessary, then permanent. And once fear becomes the state, even the ruler becomes trapped inside it. Because when you build your world on terror, you can never relax. You can never trust. You can never stop hunting enemies. And eventually, there's nothing left to conquer but your own people and your own peace.